Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include Blizzard making some big player-positive changes in World of Warcraft, Sony buying Bungie, the balance patch on Diablo 2 Resurrected's test server, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below. But right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. Now before I move on, just a quick word from this video's sponsor, Keeps, which is all about keeping your hair. About 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they reach age 35. Now some men lean into that shaved head look, but some enjoy having and styling hair and want to know, are there any options? Now, there's no magic cure for baldness, but there are preventative steps to stop it from progressing and keep the hair you have. Keeps is a subscription service that focuses on making it easier and more affordable for men to treat their male pattern baldness, all from the comfort of their home, using clinically proven, research-backed treatments at about half the cost of a traditional pharmacy. Physicians at Keeps will help pick the right treatment plan for you, and every treatment plan comes with a full year of unlimited messaging, so you can contact your prescribing doctor at any time. And then it's as simple as subscribing and having everything you need delivered right to your door, with refill reminders sent to ensure you don't run out of what you need. Hair loss stops with Keeps. To get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/Rhykker or click the link in the description. That's keeps.com/RHYKKER. In our first story, Grand Theft Auto 6 has been revealed via a tweet. The Rockstar Games Twitter account tweeted, quote, "We're pleased to confirm that active development for the next entry in the series is underway." What's with game devs announcing exciting projects in the lamest way possible lately? Who remembers when companies used to have like a few days of build up towards this big reveal on a project that they knew people would be hype about? In other news, with Elden Ring releasing on February 25th, Game Informer got a hold of a few minutes of exclusive gameplay. Link in the description if you haven't seen it. In Activision Blizzard news, the Microsoft acquisition is now going to have to pass FTC approval. Now, normally the Department of Justice would have handled it, but the Federal Trade Commission is stepping in to ensure the acquisition doesn't break any antitrust regulations. In a report by Bloomberg, we learned that the FTC is looking to see whether this acquisition could harm competition by limiting rivals' access to major games. The FTC has been cracking down on its antitrust regulations. Back in January, they said they would rewrite their guidance on mergers after years of noting that US industries were becoming increasingly concentrated. The chair of the FTC herself has been a vocal critic of big tech, and under her watch, the FTC already sued to stop 2 major deals: Lockheed Martin's purchase of Aerojet Rocketdyne and Nvidia's purchase of ARM, a chip developer. The FTC chair said that for digital markets, they need to determine whether workers or other businesses can be harmed, not just consumers. Now, Reuters previously reported that if the deal would be blocked, then Microsoft would have to pay a $3 billion break free, suggesting that Microsoft is confident that the acquisition won't be blocked. Since that's a spicy penalty to pay, we'll have to see what happens. In other Activision Blizzard news, the company reported its Q4 2021 results this week, foregoing the regular voice call with PowerPoint presentation in light of the pending acquisition. The company did not meet its expectations for the quarter due to Call of Duty Vanguard not selling as well as the company had hoped, but it did confirm that Diablo 2 Resurrected is Blizzard's best-selling remastered game ever. Though that's not exactly tough competition. Warcraft 3 Reforged was a disaster, and the StarCraft remaster was a smaller project that wasn't advertised or marketed nearly as much. Strangely though, we also learned that World of Warcraft in 2021, quote, delivered its strongest engagement and net bookings outside of a modern expansion year in a decade. Now, I'm accustomed to these reports to investors painting things in the most positive light possible, right? Just finding whatever you can mine within the rigid structure of careful phrasing to say only the truth and make it sound like something really significant. And there's always some kind of caveat, right? But for this one, I cannot figure out what that caveat could be. We've been hearing nothing but doom and gloom about WoW bleeding players, dying game, yada yada, and yet apparently not? Strongest engagement and net bookings. I guess that means number of sales and total revenue generated. So WoW players, tell me, did they just monetize the game much more aggressively in 2021, getting more money out of fewer players? Or are reports of WoW's dropping player counts grossly exaggerated? Let me know in the comments. We also learned that the new Call of Duty game set to release in 2022 is being developed by Infinity Ward, the team behind 2019's Modern Warfare, and that Blizzard is, quote, planning substantial new content for key franchises. Some of that is for the Warcraft franchise for this year, 2022, which will include new experiences in World of Warcraft and all new mobile Warcraft content that is not Hearthstone. So it sounds like some kind of Warcraft app is releasing this year. Could it be a companion app? Well, that would be nice. It's most likely to be a game, because you can't really monetize a companion app, at least not as well as a game. So I imagine this is the rumored Warcraft mobile game that's been in development for some time now, finally releasing this year. Which is interesting because we have Immortal also releasing by or within the first half of the year, so it feels like these two releases are going to happen quite close together. Continuing along in the Blizzard news, some new details have emerged about the new survival game the company is working on. It seems the project has been in development since at least 2017, and it sounds like it'll be a first-person perspective game. On LinkedIn, Craig Amai lists himself as project lead of the unannounced survival game since July 2017. Before that, he was lead quest designer for World of Warcraft since 2013. Then on Twitter, he stated, quote, "Once upon a time, this dream project was a humble pitch deck on my desktop. Now it's a team full of caring and passionate people, sharing a vision I couldn't be prouder to be part of." Now this suggests that he did not take over as project lead from someone else, but that he was there from the start. So it's fair to assume that the project did not start before summer 2017. Then concept and 3D character art producer Camille Sanford stated in a tweet that it'll be a first-person survival game. And even former Blizzard employees are singing the praises of the game and the team, including Janice Chu, senior concept artist at Bungie, who was in charge of UI art on the survival game when she was still at Blizzard, former World of Warcraft editor Katie Mallon, who left Blizzard in September to join Turtle Rock as a writer, and Michael Vicente, who worked as a senior artist on the project until January of this year, and is currently a principal artist at Phoenix Labs. Deeper in World of Warcraft news, Blizzard is testing out cross-faction play, a feature many players have been asking for years. They do want to keep it an opt-in feature, however, so the way it'll work is that Alliance and Horde players can form pre-made parties together for dungeons, raids, and rated PvP. Blizzard also this week updated its policies and will now be banning boosting communities. Boosting itself isn't banned, but specifically, quote, organizations who offer boosting, matchmaking, escrow, or other non-traditional services, including those offered for gold. They further clarified, quote, this policy update does not restrict individuals or guilds from using the provided in-game tools, trade channel chat, to buy or sell in-game items or activities for in-game currency. However, boosting communities, especially those who operate across multiple realms, are no longer permitted. WoW players, what do you think of all these changes? Sound off with your thoughts in the comments. In other news, Sony is buying Bungie, and it's totally not in response to Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard. At a $3.6 billion buying cost, Sony seems to be expecting big things in Bungie's future, which currently only has Destiny 2 as a property they own, since Microsoft holds the rights to Halo. Now, the studio does have a few new IPs in development, and Sony does seem to hold the company in high regard in the FPS space. They consulted with Bungie on the design of the DualShock 4 controller. Now, of that $3.6 billion, Sony has earmarked 1/3 of that, so $1.2 billion, for a long-term employee retention incentive plan aimed at keeping Bungie's current staff intact after the acquisition. In the first 2 years alone, Sony is prepared to pay out about 2/3 of the $1.2 billion, with the rest paid out over several years. At about 900 employees, that comes out to over $1.3 million per employee, though it's unlikely that every employee would get an equal share. Still, it could easily mean that some employees are getting at least $100,000 a year in some capacity, be it stock options or other incentives. So this is just more proof that Sony really values the people behind Bungie and not just the intellectual property that they own. Also, with this acquisition, Bungie will remain an independent subsidiary of Sony Interactive, with a board led by Bungie's existing CEO. Now, Bungie has something of an interesting history. The company was founded in 1991, acquired by Microsoft in 2000, separated from Microsoft in 2007 when they lost Halo, then got into a 10-year publishing agreement with Activision Blizzard in 2010, and broke out of that agreement early in 2019, and is now being acquired by Sony after we learned that Microsoft is acquiring Activision Blizzard. Regardless, I look forward to our future in which all AAA game development is owned by Microsoft, Sony, and Tencent. In Path of Exile news, the new League and expansion launched yesterday. The Siege of the Atlas expansion and Archnemesis League began, and already hit record player numbers. Posted on the Path of Exile Twitter, quote, "There are more players currently playing Path of Exile Siege of the Atlas right now compared to any time in Path of Exile's 10-year history." Reports are also suggesting that it was the smoothest launch in years. Now, I haven't had a chance to play myself yet, but for those of you who have, sound off in the comments with your thoughts on this expansion. One of the new features is the new Atlas tree, which the devs have made available for viewing and planning on the website, link below. And there are even more cosmetic rewards for players to earn this league through challenge rewards. Link to all that in the description. In quick Last Epoch news, we got our monthly multiplayer progress update. Progress continues smoothly. The multiplayer team continues to grow, and they're hard at work implementing the final core systems into multiplayer. In Diablo 2 Resurrected news, we got a update patch on the PTR. And given its small scale and the scope of the changes, I'm suspecting that we're coming close to an end here. The Barbarian is getting another buff to Warcry, the mana cost, now only increases by 0.75 per level instead of 1. Shapeshifter Druids are being unscrewed. The change that they made to the attack speed, they are basically reverting that. They are, however, not entirely removing the new system they put in place. They just set it such that the game will basically pick the old calculation or the new calculation, whichever results in the higher attack speed for you for the gear you have equipped. For summon druids, we're seeing a nerf to ravens. Fewer hits and less damage per hit, at least at early levels. And the Holy Fire Paladin is being gutted. They're removing entirely that interesting effect that they were testing out with auras, where the damage scales based on distance to the enemy. This change will affect all the damage auras. And they're also cutting back on some of those buffs that they gave Holy Fire. The devs wrote, quote, "We felt our original changes to Holy Fire made it too strong at higher levels. Additionally, the new area damage scaling on these auras had greater benefits than we originally intended. We are removing them for now." I find this change in particular to be a bit surprising. It seems the only setup that really performs well with Holy Fire is exceptionally expensive to put together, and dollar for dollar, other top builds still outperform it. So I do wonder if this is an overreaction response to the community, seeing some videos about cows dying instantly to this aura that just kills everything on screen. But again, that build required very expensive gear, didn't scale well with higher player numbers, and was really only shining in very specific usage cases. For the Sorceress, Hydra also got something of a nerf. They removed the buffs they gave to its damage scaling. This doesn't kill Hydra, it's a bit weaker. The real strength of Hydra is removing the casting delay. Just being able to spawn 6 Hydras almost instantly is what made this build viable. I'm confused a bit by why they felt the need to nerf it. It didn't feel like it was overperforming. And then they're also, temporarily at least, addressing ammo. They said, quote, "We're looking at player feedback concerning throwing barbarians and are discussing potential options. In the meantime, increasing throwing item quantity across the board seemed like a reasonable quality of life change. Arrow and bolt max quantity increased to 500. Throwing weapon quantity has been increased by 50%. So this is better. It's good. I mean, it's better. It's better. The arrow and bolt max quantity is a nice change. Throwing weapons being increased by 50%, I mean, 50% more of 10 is just 15. A 50% buff on an already small number isn't that significant, and I don't think this is nearly close to enough to what throw barbarians need, who deplete their stash of thrown weapons so quickly. because they're not like lightning Javazons that shoot one weapon and it kills a whole bunch of monsters. They have to be constantly throwing, and they just burn through their ammo super fast. But again, this is better. It's at least an improvement, and they're looking for feedback on how to, I guess, implement a longer-term solution. There's also the distinction that someone using arrows or bolts can always find some on the ground or carry a whole bunch extra with them if they really want to. But with throwing weapons, you can't just have an extra throwing weapon. I mean, okay, sure, people do it with titans, but realistically, if I have some rare javelins with specific properties, then I need to always go back to town to repair to refill the stack. Finding extra javelins doesn't allow me to refill that stack in the same way. What I continue to see proposed that seems to make sense is that when you invest in a skill like double throw or any kind of throwing weapon power, it adds a chance to not consume a unit of ammo whenever you use the skill. So with increased skill expenditure, you're using up less and less ammo. Does this make logical sense from an immersion standpoint? No, but neither does repairing a stack of weapons to replenish it. Oh, I've run out of my Titan's Revenge. I cannot throw any more of them. Let me go to Charcy and she hits it with her hammer and now I got a bunch more. Ultimately, if this patch goes through with the current changes, while this isn't an enormous shakeup to the meta, the game is still going to be in a better state of balance than it was a month ago. Could they be pushing things further? Maybe they're being more conservative this go around. Maybe they'll be open to bigger changes in the future. There's still a number of people that are purists and don't want too much change, so maybe they're trying not to freak them out too much. All the best builds will still be the best builds, but at least the others are starting to catch up. Pazradar also gave us an update on some of the PTR timings going forward. He said, quote, "We're expecting to take down PTR here in the next week or so after people get their hands on the existing changes. We do plan on putting PTR back up sometime afterwards, as we do plan on doing some ladder testing, and we encourage people to hop on to try it out as the team wants to ensure a smooth ladder launch after 2.4 launches. We expect additional balance changes to occur during this ladder PTR update as well. This will most likely be our last PTR phase before launch, but as usual, there will most likely be final balance changes that will hit with 2.4 when it goes live." So if we're to look at a rough timeline here, let's say PTR goes down next week on the 10th, comes back up on, say, the 15th, runs until the 22nd, and then March 4th, maybe we're looking at a 2.4 launch. Maybe. Just a guess though. And that's going to wrap up this week's video. But do be sure to have checked out last week's video in which we discussed the rumors about Act 6. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more gaming content.